I'm going to call the Thursday, March 25th, 2021 City Commission meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. First item on the agenda is the minutes. Any corrections, additions, amendments?
None?
Financial statement, Mr. Rook.
Thank you. Kim Rupp, Director of Finance. This is a report of a summary of revenue and expenditures for the City of Hayes, month ended February 28th, 2021. Revenues in February totaled $9,323,000. That's an increase of about $6.6 million compared to the same period as last year. Some notable areas of increased revenue when we compare to February of 2020. As mentioned last month, we did not receive the allocation of property tax and motor vehicle taxes until February of this year. So the $3.9 million from the distribution accounts for the largest, that $3.9 million from that distribution accounts for the largest portion of the increase in revenue. The other large portion of the increase was due to transfers into the Capital Projects Fund, totaling $2,485,000. That's for the 27th Street and to Fort reconstruction. Transient guest tax was up simply due to timing of the receipts. Transient guest tax is off $87,000, or negative 25% from a year ago. Water consumption for the month was up 8.5%. That translated into a 7.9% increase in water revenue and a 35% increase in conservation revenue. Year to date, total consumption is up 10% with total revenue up 12%. And golf course revenue is up $18,000 from a year ago. Some revenue decreases, employee benefits, insurance refunds, revenue was off $368,000. That's due to the Blue Cross Blue Shield low utilization refund, along with the KMIT premium audit refund received this time last year. Parks improvements miscellaneous revenue was down $10,000 from a year ago due to donations received from Kiwanis and DHDC, as well as an insurance claim. Expenditures in February totaled $5,152,000. That's an increase of $3,142,000. Some notable areas of increased expenditure, as mentioned, much of the increase for transfers to the Capital Projects Fund for the $2.485 million in connection with the 27th Street project. Those transfers are from several funds, including Water, Stormwater, and Commission Capital Reserve. Therefore, they're recognized in an expenditure in total from each of those funds. Airport repairs to buildings was up $27,000 due to wind damage to a hangar door, and we are expecting insurance proceeds on that. In connection with the late distribution mentioned, library allocations was moved to February because we're not going to give them their allocation until we have the funds, so those expenditures increased $960,000. Notable areas of decrease expenditures, other contractuals and outside agency funding was down $22,500 in CVB due to timing of allocations to outside agencies, as well as marketing materials purchased a year ago. Health insurance for employee benefits was down $63,000. And despite motor fuel prices being up, fleet maintenance expenditures dropped $10,000 as compared to this time last year. Month to date, general fund sales tax collections were at $712,861. That was a decrease of $21,560, or negative 2.9% compared to a year ago. Year to date, general fund sales tax collections are at $1,351,594. That's down $21,390, or negative 1.56%. The 6-month average is at a negative 82 basis points, which was a decrease of 6.39 when compared to a year ago. And month-to-date county sales tax collections were at $86,652, with the year-to-date total at $161,289. The report of the top 10 quarter-to-date sales tax collections by classification was down $131,000, or a negative 5.6. Most all categories shared in that drop across the top 10. And finally, the portfolio certificates of deposit on February 28th totaled $41.15 million, with a weighted average interest rate of 33 basis points, down 1.71 from a year ago. Total par value of the U.S. Treasury notes was $5,025,000, with a weighted average yield to maturity of 6 basis points. Total balance on a money market account on February 28th was $11,750,000, with a current yield of 5 basis points. Total investments are down $5,352,000. We're carrying a little more in operating. We're also still waiting on the next item for bond proceeds, so that's why those are down.
I'll make a motion to accept February 2021 financial statement.
I'll second that.
Been moved by Commissioner Melick and seconded by Commissioner Reuter to accept the financial statement. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll take the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Any citizen comments? I don't see any citizens out there. Just the normal ones. Consent agenda. I have one item on the consent agenda to announce the appointment of Al Klaus to the Hayes Housing Authority Board. Mr. Klaus has been on that board since 2012. He currently serves as the chairperson, and we, as always, with our citizens, appreciate his participation.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Moved by Commissioner Musil, seconded by Commissioner Burgess. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. First item on the new business agenda, ordinance authorizing and providing for the issuance of general obligation bonds, Series 2021-A.
Good evening again. Kim Rupp, Director of Finance. We had a bond sale today. We're very pleased with the results. I have David Arterberry, our financial advisor with Stiefel Nicholas and Company with us through Zoom tonight. My boss gave me a 13% chance of success on this. And so, David, you're up on the screen. Go ahead. You're up on the screen. Go ahead. Oh.
It was right. Today, the city took bids on the sale of bonds for the Vine Street project, and the results went really well. But before we get there, I just wanted to kind of really quickly update you on what we've been up to during the last week or so. First of all, as I think you might all be aware, the city had their rating reviewed and the rating confirmed by Standard & Poor's at AA. And that is an excellent rating. We went back and we looked at the rating of a lot of other communities in Kansas, and considering the size of your community, a AA rating is about as high as, if not the highest rating amongst all your peers. So it was nice to have that confirmed. After that, we distributed the offering document and bidding documents to potential underwriting firms across the country. That occurred sometime in the early to mid part of last week. We also advertised the sale of the bonds on Bloomberg and in the Bond Buyer, which is a daily newspaper for the municipal bond industry. We called around a little last week to some of the usual bidders in Kansas just to make sure that everyone was aware of the sale, and they were. Today, what we did was we got on a Zoom call at about 10:45 and pulled up the bidding site. This is the site where the firms that are bidding will submit the bid. Initially, 5 firms were signed up to bid, and when all was said and done, we actually ended up getting 4 bids. One of the firms decided not to submit. But the 4 bids we did get were really, really good. The best bid, in other words, the firm that was offering to purchase the bonds at the lowest overall interest rate, was submitted by Robert W. Baird and Company. Their true interest cost was 1.780657%. I think we went back and looked and realized that initially some of the estimates that we had for the interest rate on the bonds was 1.77%. So there's just a hair higher than what I think we had been discussing back in January. The next bid was at 1.797%, just slightly higher. And then the rest of the bids were about 1.85, 1.89%. Did you have copies of those bids to look at?
Right, I gave them to them at their places, yes.
Okay, good. So you can see that. We went back after Robert W. Baird, after we looked at the bid, we verified that it was mathematically correct. We went back and we looked more closely at their bid in order to see if the issue needed to be resized, and it did. As part of their bid, pay the city a premium of about $300,000. That premium was used to reduce the size of the bond issue. So the final principal amount of the bond issue, it went from $6,795,000 down to $6,480,000. The city will still get all of the funds that it needs to reimburse itself for the project, but in this case, instead of all of it coming from the principal amount of bonds, there'll be a combination of bond principal and bid premium that will give them the funds. After the issue was resized, it slightly adjusted the true interest cost. The final true interest cost ended up being 1.7948389%. Still, obviously, a great rate, and considerably, even though it was pretty close to what we were expecting in January, it's actually quite a bit lower than we were expecting in February after rates had spiked up. So, be happy to kind of go over the bid process, the market, sale results, the rating, if anybody had any questions.
Nobody?
Anybody have any questions?
I have none.
Okay. I do have a few slides, so
Sure.
I'm going to slide you back over, Dave. Hang on the line with us just in case something comes up.
Well, look at you, Kim. You're just doing really well.
You don't know how many times I practiced this. Right. I don't know what they did to their presentations. But So just going over, we'll do the ordinance first. This issue, the $6,480,000, reimburses the city for its share of the North Vine Corridor project, as well as covers the paying agent, Kansas Attorney General, CUSIP Service Bureau, Bond Counsel, Financial Advisor, Rating Agency, and Publication and Printing. Debt service will begin in 2022. It is set up for 25 years to be paid from the additional 2% transient guest tax that was passed on October 1 of 2018. We do plan to use what's called a sinking fund. We'll capture any excess transient guest tax over and above the annual debt service to use towards future payments, thereby hopefully reducing interest costs and also the term of the bonds as they become available for early retirement. That's in about 10 years. Ordinance authorizes the bonds to be issued to pay the cost of the improvements, allows us to levy taxes, and direct city officials and staff to execute the necessary documents to complete this placement. Pretty straightforward. So tonight on the ordinance, options are to approve the ordinance, provide us with other direction, or do nothing. And this would be our action requested this evening for the ordinance.
I'll move to approve ordinance number 3996, authorizing and providing for the issuance of general obligation bond series 2021-AA.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Burgess, second by Commissioner Melick. Any other questions, comments? Not, I'll take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Passes 5-0. Resolution prescribing the form and details of and authorizing and directing the sale and delivery of general obligation bond series 2021A. Kim?
And as you might imagine, usually our resolutions aren't very long, but in this case, these are the longer than an ordinance. It's pretty detailed. It details the bonds, including that redemption we talked about, the security, establishes the funds that we'll use to put those monies in and out, to take care of the servicing, application of bond proceeds, defaults and remedies, continuing disclosures, and any other miscellaneous provisions. So it's a pretty lengthy document. And so the options on the resolution would be to approve it, provide us with either direction, or do nothing, and we're asking for approval this evening.
I move we approve resolution number 2021-006, prescribing the form and details of and authorizing and directing the sale and delivery of general obligation bonds series 2021-A.
Second.
I'm sorry, was that Commissioner Burgess?
No.
Been moved by,
I
oh,
second.
it was Sean. I'm sorry. Thank you.
right.
Been moved by Commissioner Reuter, seconded by Commissioner Musil. Any other discussion, questions, or comments? Not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Kim.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, everyone. Good
Thanks.
evening.
Thank you, Kim.
Good job. All around good job.
Not bad for
Trying to-
13%.
He's trying to get out of this now. We're going to leave him alone. We're just going to let him stay up here. Yay, good job.
I'm buying
The
a
next
lottery
time-
ticket.
The Art Park parking lot award of bid, Mr. Jeff Boyle.
Toby just gave me 9%.
We believe it.
Good evening, Jeff Boyle, Director of Parks. Last week we talked about the Ark Park parking lot. You may recall the commission talked early on about utilizing a portion of the Ellis County quarter-cent sales tax to help fund the parking lot at the Ark Park. And you were right, Toby.
Sabotage.
There we go. So here's the overall concept design we talked about. Again, the parking lot is in the southwest corner of the park area. There are currently 46 stalls. Commission asked a question last week, I believe, Commissioner Musil, I believe you asked how many handicap stalls. I did confirm with the Ark Park, there will be, the requirement is 2. We're going to actually put in 7. So there'll be quite a few more than we originally expected. But again, this is a project that's, you know, anytime you're doing a park that's a high-use area like this, parking lots are something that we really need to consider, especially with 33rd Street. That's not a good road to park on, so this is a good portion or a good project within the whole project. We did send out, had Call Valley do engineering for the parking lot to make sure all of our elevations and everything were correct and the parking lot was designed correct. Went out for bids, and these are the bid tabulation from the bids that we received. T&T Builders is a low bid. They have quite a bit of experience in building parking lots. The couple of those parking lots, the President's parking lot behind the President's house at Fort Hays State was one of them. That's a very large project. Another question that was asked last week was, when is a start date expected on this? And in visiting with T&T, they are looking at the second week of April for a start date. So, and this is the action requested if you wish to proceed.
Move we authorize the city manager to sign a contract with T&T Builders LLC for the installation of the Ark Park parking lot at Seven Hills Park for an amount of $200,136.36 to be paid from the Commission Capital Reserve.
Seconded.
Been moved by Commissioner Reuter, second by Commissioner Burgess. Questions, comments, concerns?
No
You
concern.
guys are awfully quiet tonight. Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Next, the Bickelschmidt Sports Complex Scoreboards Award of Bid, Mr. Boyle.
Again, Jeff Boyle, Director of Parks. As you're all aware, we have some scoreboards at the complex that have created some comments from folks using the facility. The scoreboards are not in the best of condition. From a distance, they look fine. This is what's out there now. They look fine, but the internals on the scoreboards aren't functioning properly. The controllers haven't functioned properly for years, even though we've been buying new controllers and batteries. These are wireless. That is one of the things that we addressed in our bid proposal, was to make sure that what we got was going to be hardwired so that we didn't have these issues again. These scoreboards were put in 2011, so they are about 10 years old. We asked for the items you see here were asked to be placed on the scoreboard, bid as part of the project. And you see that they do include a sponsor panel. Last week I mentioned the idea of looking for sponsors to see if we had some folks that wanted to put their businesses on each one of these panels. I did confirm with Daktronics that is something that they can set aside for now, go ahead and build the scoreboards, allow us to go through that process, and then they can do that if that's something the commission wishes to move forward with. So it would help us pay for the scoreboards over a period of time here. Again, this is it's pretty standard scoreboard. This isn't the Kansas City Royals don't play out there, but so we don't need that in-depth of a scoreboard. But this covers everything that Hayes Rec needs for their games, and it's a very good product. Hayes Rec, I mentioned last week, has a lot of portable Daktronic scoreboards, and Roger said he thinks that some of them are over 15 years old when I talked to him the other day. So I've had really good luck with them. These are the 2 bids that we received. Again, Daktronics is a very good company. One of the commissioners asked also last week what the current scoreboards were that we had. Those are sportable scoreboards. So another good company. I just don't know that we got the highest quality scoreboard initially. So,
Jeff, I have a question on that. So if those would have been hardwired, do you think they would have worked better? I mean, they look good from, you go out there.
the controllers would have still required electricity, which we're also addressing. Actually, it's completed now. We have outlets now on the backstop from this point forward to charge the controllers. However, the communication between the controllers and the scoreboard, even when we were plugged in with electrical cords last year, we still had issues. So I think the controllers are a problem. I think the wireless connection is a problem. And then, of course, I talked about the internals on the scoreboard. The digits are just constantly going out, and so. This is the action requested. If you would like to proceed, I will mention we're asking to pay for this out of the Bickle-Schmidt Sports Complex sales tax money to be repaid in 2022 with special park funding.
Make a motion to approve the low bid from Daktronics for new scoreboards at the Bickle-Schmidt Sports Complex for the amount of $79,905 to be paid in 2021 from the Sports Complex sales tax reserve, which will be reimbursed in 2022 with funding from the Special Parks and Recreation budget.
I'll second.
Been moved by Commissioner Musil, seconded by Commissioner Melick. Any discussion, questions?
Jeff, you got a lot going on this summer. Thank you
We're
for.
staying busy.
Yes, you are. And it's early. Thank you for getting all this going.
Sure,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
Jeff, has there been any conversation, or does anybody know what kind of dollars we'd be able to generate in those sponsorships?
Roger and I have talked. We haven't really sat down in depth talking about it, but for example, if we could get $1,000 per panel per year over a 10-year period, so that we're not changing the panels out,
Right.
that will have paid for the scoreboards.
That's what I was hoping you were going to say.
That's one of the things we're talking about right now. But he talked a little bit about his pool sponsorships,
Right.
and then the banner sponsorships, and then we're trying to work out. The scoreboards are a little more. Every time you look at the scoreboard, you're seeing the advertisement, so it's a little more visible. So I think we have a little more room to play with
Can
those.
Daktronics give you any examples of other communities, what they've been able to charge, or they not even?
I don't know that they
They
could give me
probably
that
wouldn't know.
information. I could certainly ask, but I don't know that they would be able to give that information out.
Very good.
Last week we talked a little bit about this. I very unscientific, talked to a couple businesses, and their biggest thing, if they were interested in doing it, is like if you're at that field, it's so-and-so's field and stuff. And if you could prove to them, they said they would definitely be interested in doing something. So I think that's going to be the big thing, whether it's, you go to that, like right now they say you play at Field 1, make sure they're advertising you're at Sandy Jacobs Field or, something like that. So.
And as I mentioned last week, if we could do a little more of a package deal, maybe
Yeah.
have some signs on the
Yeah.
shade structures
Yep.
that also recognized, and maybe
Yeah.
that would be a little more enticing as well.
Yep.
So
I would agree.
I think there's some options out there for us.
That's kind of what they were going at when they said that, so that sounded good.
Okay, I'll take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Public Works Aerial Platform Lift Truck awarded bid, Jesse Rohr.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jesse Rohr, Director of Public Works. So I want to discuss with you tonight and ask for your consideration for award bid for a replacement aerial platform lift truck for the Public Works Service Division. As noted on your screen here, we did budget for this item in 2021. Money has been set aside for several years for this replacement vehicle in the New Equipment Reserve Fund. The current truck we have was purchased in 2005, and we feel it has reached the end of its useful life. Here's a couple pictures of our current truck. The truck does just have just over 7,000 hours and approximately 60,000 miles on the truck. It is a two-person bucket, as you can see here. That's important for a lot of the work that we do, especially on signal lights. The recommended bid that I'll get to in a minute did include a $15,000 trade allowance for this particular truck. Here's an image of almost exactly what the new truck would look like. It's very similar to our existing truck. In fact, it is coming from the same company. We bought ours from back in 2005. Again, it does have the two-person basket. It does have a 500-pound capacity in the basket, which we required. It's got a 36-foot platform height, 41-foot working height, 28-foot side reach, which will suit our needs just perfectly. And it is built on an F550 cabin chassis. And I mentioned this is just about nearly identical to our existing truck, as you can see here. We did solicit bids, and we're pleased to get the 4 bids that we got, with the low bid being from Stam Manufacturing out of Florida. Again, that is the same manufacturer, same company we bought our existing truck from back in 2005. After the $15,000 trade-in allowance, they came in at $104,474. With the $15,000 trade-in allowance, we feel that's a fair trade-in value for the truck. Saves us from having to try to solicit bids later or sell it at auction, not knowing what we might not get for it. We did budget, as I mentioned, in 2021. We budgeted $125,000, so we came in just a little over $20,000 under budget for this particular piece of equipment. These would be the options. Asking you to award the bid, and the action requested should you so choose to do so. And with that, I'll take any questions.
I move we award the bid for the purchase of a 2021 Ford F550 with stand platform lift and hydraulic control system for the total amount of $104,474 after a $15,000 trade-in allowance to be funded out of the New Equipment Reserve Fund.
Seconded.
Been moved by Commissioner Reuter, second by Commissioner Burgess. Any other discussion or questions? Not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Now you can ask a lot of questions.
Sanitary sewer lining award of bid, Mr. Crispin.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jeff Crispin, Director of Water Resources. The capital improvement plan within the 2021 budget includes a project that's labeled Sewer Line Repair Projects from CCTV Inspections. We created a RFP to complete cure-in-place pipe project, and it's a lining project of approximately 10,000 linear feet of sanitary sewer line, 6-inch, 8-inch, and 21-inch sewers. Remove 19 tap intrusions, which I'll show you a visual of that, and then do some extra scale removal from a line that's actually under the railroad tracks downtown. Not on Main Street, though. This is a general area of the project. That big portion right there is most of it's west of Vine Street, south of 27th. And you'll notice there is a couple spots there. Excuse me. Now it's having problems. This is the general area of the project, and then there's some small spots that are out of that area. This is a little bit closer view. From the left side to the right, that is Hall Street, and then 27th Street is up here. So all of these projects, as I mentioned last week, there are manhole-to-manhole issues. So those are that's what you're seeing on there is from one manhole to another. This is another, the last visual. The 4 bottom ones are those off the grid ones that you saw in that first visual. And then south of 13th Street, there's a pretty long stretch there that we're going to take care of with this project. So what is CIPP lining? It's trenchless, don't have to dig it up. It's quick, it's cost effective. It's a polyester resin. They pull it through a manhole, inflate it with steam or water, and it inflates for a certain amount of time, it cures, and it's just like a new C900 PVC pipe. It takes care of infiltration and leakage. That reduces that tremendously. So where we have multiple cracks in a line or broken areas and they can get that through, that takes care of those problems. In 2019, you may recall, we've completed 15,000 linear feet of sanitary sewer. And as I also had mentioned, we started in 2018 really aggressively. We did point repair projects. Then the next year we did lining in 2019. In 2020 we did point repair projects, and we're doing lining obviously with this project as well. So that seems to work pretty well because in some instances you actually have to do point repairs in order then to line that line. So those have to be done. So it's worked really well for us. So changed up the visual a little bit here. As you can see, this is the original one that I had. The polyester. The resin, it's a polyester, it's vinyl, and then it's epoxy. It's mostly polyester. But you'll notice on the right side, that's an actual picture from here in Hayes. They actually brought us a sample, and that is actually looking down into one of the pipes. It's just a piece of pipe that they brought out that we could kind of take a look and see how it cured. So some of the questions I had last Thursday that I wanted to respond to, how thick is that when it's cured? It actually goes to about 6 millimeters. Well, it's not like that, about 6 millimeters, and that's darn near 1/4 of an inch. So as you can see, when you look at that, it almost looks like a piece of PVC that you would normally see if it was already completed. So 6 millimeters, what kind of a warranty? That wasn't asked, but I did want to cover that. With this project, it's a standard 1-year warranty. But the important one was, I believe, Commissioner Reuter, you might have asked last week, what is the life expectancy of something like this? The design of this is actually 50-year life expectancy. So that is pretty good. And I talked with the project manager of this project. This was an example of an intruding tap. Basically, if ground settles, something shifts, and a tap from a house that actually gets pushed into the line, we want to make sure those are ground down and taken care of, so there is no obstructions and sewage can flow right through. One thing I did want to mention too, and I had a question last week, actually out in the audience, and it was, how do they know how to reestablish those connections? So that is the connection, and let's assume that it's just ground down, and they've went through there and they've done their liner, and then how do they know that they got to go back in and where to pull and reestablish that tap? When they do a pre-inspection, they use their unit and they're going along and they know exactly where they record where exactly it is. And when they go back in, they go back to that spot with the cutter, but right at the hole for the private tap, there's a little dimple there that kind of helps them. It just shows up when they go through. So then they go back through, reestablish that tap, and then the customer's up and running again. It'll go quickly. We don't have to take any sewer out, or we have to do any bypassing in order to get this project going. This is a video I provided last week. This is at 13th and Hall, and it's looking towards the east. And you can kind of see down the street there's another vehicle at another manhole. So let's see if this one will. Good. And they're basically taking that flexible liner, putting it in through that manhole, and air is being introduced, and it's pushing all the way up to that other manhole, and it'll come out the other side if we were to watch some of the other videos. So it's pretty slick how it works, and that was from 2019. We opened bids for this project on March 2nd, and we had the bidders listed here. Our estimate was $250,000, and Midlands Contracting was under that amount at just under $240,000. The contract that we have set up that calls for this work to be done by December 31st. In talking with the project manager previously, their intention, if awarded, would be able to start here in April and actually finish before July 1st. So they would like to get in and get out and get it taken care of. As I had mentioned before, Midlands Contracting, they did the water line and the new booster station up on 41st Street, the new water line that goes up north of I-70, and that provides our secondary source of water up there. So they did a great job, same project manager. And in addition, last week, that I did not cover, Midlands Contracting has done exactly 150 of these type of projects since 2004 in the states of Kansas and the states of Nebraska. And I have that full list actually in my office. So, and I also mentioned last week SAK, which construction out of the St. Louis area, they didn't get the bid this year. They had it in 19. They called our project manager and said, look, that's a great company to work with. You guys are going to be just fine. And John, our project manager, relayed that to me. So the project was within CIP at $250,000 to be funded out of sewer capital. In addition to the price of $239,000, I am asking for some authority to spend that budget amount. It's only about $11,000 more dollars, but there are times that we find that there may be some additional lining or something that comes up when they get in there, and with them mobilized in here, they can take care of those issues, and that would be appreciated if we could do that. So tonight, your options are, obviously, we would wish you to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract, direct staff to another option, or do nothing. And this is my action I would request, and I would also stand for any questions.
Jeff, would you explain to the public how you picked these particular sections of line to line?
Absolutely, Commissioner. Since 2013, we've been on a program to do sewer line cleaning and CCTV inspection. So as the sewer line is cleaned by a professional company, they're taking video. And so as the video is taken, and once they're done, we get data, we get video, we get still shots. We collectively put that information together, and we review those, and then we make decisions on doing future projects. So a couple years ago, what we did is we continued to start compiling all the data that we already had, and we said, let's pick the worst of the worst in town. Let's start with those, let's get those taken care of. And so in 18, 19, and 20, we have progressively been going through that project, and that video tells us what is the worst of the worst. So you may have a 500 linear feet section of line from one manhole to another, but you may have 10 issues in that line. Some of them may need to be dug up, and we've already done that, and then we go through, and lining would take care of the rest. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. I'll make a motion that we authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with Midlands Contracting to complete CIPP lining at the cost of $239,693.25 with a budget not to exceed $250,000 to be funded from the sewer capital.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Malik, seconded by Commissioner Reuter. Any other questions or comments? Not, I'll call, I'm sorry.
Good question. So I know it says possibly up to 50 years, but what happens if one of those cracks or they have to replace it?
Well, it would be just like any other sewer line. You know, if we're going to go back through, and it's not like we're not going to touch it for 50 years.
Right, right.
And with our program, every 5 years, we do 20%. So every 5 years, we'll come back around, we'll look at it. If it has an issue, we can go in and fix it. But if one spot has a crack that it failed, we've taken care of maybe 10 other issues in that line, so we would address it.
So I guess my question was, the stuff they put in there, though, if it's a crack, can they just reline it?
It can be relined.
You know.
Obviously, the smaller the line, then you have that quarter of an
Yeah.
inch. You're starting
Right.
to restrict it a little bit more. But we did find, and that was a great question, in the 2019 program, some of that has been re-cameraed for some different reasons. And we had noted that those areas were really, really in good shape.
Good.
They look just like a brand new line.
Great project. Thank you.
There's no other questions. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Have we had progress?
Always.
Always have progress.
Good evening, Colin Belzer, Assistant City Manager. And for this month's latest report, if you've been out to the recycling facility, you've probably noticed some changes. Public Works crew did install an east entrance in order for better access and flow of traffic when they're out there. They also installed some concrete for this would be the west entrance, because a lot of times without that hard surface, it would cause rutting as people would turn. So we laid that down ourselves. They've been busy repairing the concrete and brick as a result of the water main breaks that has happened around town. The fire department held quarterly tech rescue training with members of the Ellis County Fire Department. So this was focusing on structures and stabilizing collapsing structures. The Hayes Fire Department and Ellis County Fire Department operate this technical rescue team for entire Northwest Kansas. As Jeff Boyle has mentioned, they're building the Arc Park at Seven Hills Park. It's coming along. It's very muddy today, though, as I understand. Schmidt Sports Complex, they've removed the existing shade structures to facilitate the construction of the new structures, and this was all done in-house. Something else we had to do in anticipation of the turfing the infields, we had soil sampling done in the infields so that contractors could provide accurate artificial turf proposals. Vine Street, in order to help that project out, the Parks Department went up there and removed a lot of the landscaping material from the medians, and they are going to reuse those in other locations. They've been doing typical spring maintenance, such as cutting back ornamental grasses, and then cleaning up stump grinding debris and backfilling those holes. And then police, Detective J.B. Burkholder actually spoke with Hayes High School freshmen for health and wellness classes regarding the consequences of drug and alcohol use. And then this was in the paper recently. They held a reality-based training scenario on March 16th and 17th. Water Ambassadors, so this is a new program that we talked to you about maybe a month or two ago, middle schoolers that have been kind of recruited and modeled off a program in Texas to learn about water conservation, water quality. So they had another event, and on the left side is a speaker from KSU Polytechnic who talked to kids about the use of drones in irrigation, and as part of that they actually got to fly some drones. In the middle picture is Marissa Wassinger, who presented to the Hayes Optimist Club about the Water Ambassador program, and she also did a presentation to the 4-H. And then on the far right, they took a trip to Cheyenne Bottoms, and this is a picture of all the water ambassadors.
A really nice program.
It's a good. Obviously, we had Fix a Leak Week, where Mayor Jacobs signed the proclamation. We installed banners. The middle photo shows approximately 1,700 toilet dye tabs that are being delivered to the elementary schools, and then they also had a radio trivia, and people could win the prizes on the right side. Going back to the water leaks, we did have a couple that the water department did take care of. The one on the left is 24th, 4th and Vine, and the right is 12th and Spruce. Dodge City, so we've kind of lately been having a field trip between the two cities, between different departments. March 11th, CVB manager from Dodge City did come up and visit with our CV manager, Melissa Dixon, showed around Hayes, the operations, and then also pictured in there is the Dodge City airport manager who visited with Jamie Salter. CVB also updated the state's tourism media photo gallery, so provide the state more up-to-date photos of Hayes and what there is to do in Hayes. They actually submitted about 650 images to the state. They also took part in TIAC, or Travel Industry Association of Kansas, Destination Capitol Hill. So on the call, you might see is Jerry Moran, Senator Jerry Moran. So they had that to describe the importance of travel for the industry or for the economy and relief that is needed. And then they welcomed a variety of groups, including 5A Regional Wrestling Tournament, obviously state wrestling, MAYB tournament, and disc golf. 60% of its employees have received their first dose, including the guy on the left picture. Employees received doses from Ellis County Health Department, Walmart, and Graham County Health Department. Airport terminal has had a repainting done. it's really brightened up. It's on the right is the new code, obviously, and it's a lot more, pairs well with the logo and really brightens up the room. Project management, Tallgrass Second Edition is continually working on installing infrastructure. This is a picture of storm sewer pipe and inlets that was done by M&D Excavating. This is obviously the project by Grow Hayes and Heart of America at Wheatland and 22nd. I-70 West Development Utility Extension, so they're continuing to install the sanitary sewer and water lines for the development north or at exit 157. We've also been doing a variety of sidewalk projects that we do every year. So these are special highway funds that were encumbered in 2020, and we're able to do an extra couple projects. So that's on 27th Street, the picture on the left, and then on the right is 17th Street over by Kiwanis Park. We also have a large water line project occurring. It was about $450,000 that was awarded for the 2020 water line improvements. 19th Elm Street, 17th to 23rd, and 19th from Hall to Walnut. So they're replacing old 4-inch water line and installing with new 8-inch water mains. The North Vine Street corridor, the section in purple, they've actually just completed. That was the first phase where they took out the medians. That obviously the Parks Department had to remove vegetation and lay down temporary asphalt. There was obviously a detour involved, which is still in use today, but no right turns are allowed, I believe, right? Left, thank you. I'm backwards, right? And so to get around. And then just yesterday, they moved traffic control. So all cars are head-to-head on the right side or the east side of Vine. And they'll be building all those sections in orange at once. And that round or that detour is still in effect. That's an image of the new traffic control, as you can see. That's it.
Lots of progress.
There's a lot going on.
I really like the collaboration with, as your word, I guess I took, with you guys going to Dodge City and vice versa, them coming up here. You know, hopefully we can learn something from them and they can learn something what we're doing. So thank you guys for doing that.
Thank you, Colin. Commissioners, anything? Commissioner Musil? Commissioner Melly?
Have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Commissioner Burgess?
I'll apologize again for being late.
Oh.
About every few months, I have to apologize for that.
There's
You know,
some that make fun of you and some of us that don't.
You know, that means I have to preemptively apologize because I'm sure in the next few months.
It's all good.
Commissioner Reuter?
Little thing, I did get to hang out with some of city staff today at the Waterfest at Sternberg. That was a lot of fun seeing all the kids come out. A lot bigger turnout than I thought it was going to be with all the COVID happening, but everybody looks like they had a lot of fun, a lot of great turnout. Staff did a wonderful job. I know you, Jeff there, Holly, Tim, and Jason all had a lot of great programs there. Water Smart Wally was there. Got to show him around too. It was a good day. It was nice to see all the kids out again.
Was he Wally? Is that why he was late?
He might have been. I don't know. Sworn to secrecy. Yeah, that was a good day. That's about all I have.
I just would like to comment a little bit. We have a lot of street work going on in this community right now, and it changes regularly. I'm just asking for patience when people are out in the middle of it. If we remember how much we didn't like when we were doing the 32nd, 33rd Street roundabout, and then how much we like it now that it's finished, the time will pass before we know it. I just ask people to be patient, be considerate of each other, and also remember we have visitors from other counties that come in that make it even a little more difficult for them. So please just wave and nicely wave, no other kind of waves. That's it. We're adjourned.